Hi everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict. So we've got 6 races to have a look at this time around, and utilising the RaceiQ data, I'm going to bring to your attention a couple of very good time performances and also a couple of interesting hidden efforts as well. And we will go to Hamilton Park, we'll be at Haydock, we'll be at Kempton and Goodwood as well. We're going to start at Hamilton Park. Now, I'm taking you back to a week on Sunday because I wanted to get my head around one tremendous performance, and I have now. And it came from Desperate Hero in the 5:10 contest, completing 5 furlongs in 57.3. So he was just 0.33 above the Racing Post standard. Look at all of those other times, well above most of them. They're suggesting that the ground was just a little bit faster than good. But Desperate Hero really stood out on the clock at Hamilton on Sunday, the 2nd of June. The RaceiQ time index is back that up. Look at his score. Between 0 and 10, 8.24. Well, we rarely see scores that high, and that is a tremendous RaceiQ time index score. The average is brought down a little bit by Fiver Friday, who scored 1.39 in what was a real steadily run race, a farce of a contest. But 8.24, looking at historical data for this type of race, is a big score. You'd expect something between 5 and 6, so that speaks for itself as being a tremendous time performance. And I really believe that this is a group horse in a handicap. I make no bones about suggesting that, and I've got a plan for him later on if Jack Shannon wants to listen. Right, let's have a look and see what happened out there. This was very strongly run, this race. He jumps out from stall 13, American Affair from 4, Marine Wave from 9. American Affair came into this on the back of a good win, and he looked like a progressive handicapper. He remains one. He remains a horse to be with. But let's focus towards the stand side, and the grey horse who is in the lead, the yellow sleeves and the black cap, rolling along in front on fast ground. That's the key to this performance from him. He'd won on heavy ground last time at Goodwood. He'd scrambled home from Dream Composer, who went on to win the Dash. So his form looks really good, but he's a revelation here on this fast ground. He's fired his fastest furlong down the hill, 43.22 miles an hour, when he did a 10.36 second furlong. But now he's rolling through the final couple of furlongs, 10.74, 11.10 and 12.23. It's the 11.10 that he fired in that penultimate furlong. His finishing speed percentage just under 100, 98.21. He's getting a little bit tired through the final furlong. He's entitled to do so. Look what he's done to a field of really good sprint handicappers. He's spread-eagled them. He's absolutely thrashed them. He's way too quick for them. You can mark up American Affair. He gets a little bit of trouble in running, and he runs on quite well in the closing stages, but not as well as the winner, the grey horse. 23.32. The final 2 furlongs for this horse, and the runner-up 23.86. He's run on pretty well, American Affair. He'll win a handicap next time up, probably, American Affair. I still think he's pretty well treated. But this horse in front is a complete revelation on this ground. A fast 5 furlongs seems to suit him. As I noted earlier on, he was very quick down the hill through that 2nd furlong, and he dominated this race from start to finish. I was really, really impressed with him. It's produced a big time figure. It's to be believed as well, because there's nice horses in behind. And Callum Rodriguez, who's enjoying a fine time at the moment, has guided him to victory. And I think you've got the sort of horse that could run in perhaps a Scottish Stewards Cup, something like that. But what about the Nunthorpe on fast ground at York, a fast 5 furlongs? Just let him roll along. I know it's a big step up in grade, handicap to Group 1, but the difference between sprinters in top handicaps and in group races, well, it's not much at all. There's not much of a grey area between them, and he can make the leap, I think. I really do think that he is a horse to follow. Look at these. This is courtesy of RaceiQ, and these are the sectionals that he fired. Be Proud was quickest early on. He was fastest out of the stalls, 13.2. Then Desperate Hero went 10.37. That's down the hill, 10.74. And he started to climb, and he's fired an 11.10 as he's climbing. Impressive. And then he was at 12.23 when he was getting tired in the closing stages for a finishing speed percentage just under 100. He is a very good sprinter indeed. As long as he gets his fast ground, you have to follow him going forward. And I do think, though, that 5 furlongs will always be his trip. So Desperate Hero put up one of the two good time performances that we're going to look at in the verdict this week. And the other one comes from Summer of Love at Kempton last Wednesday in the third contest over 7 furlongs. She completed that trip in 1:24.07, going under standard, 0.33 under the Racing Post Standard. Easily the best time of the evening there. We'll also have a look later on at Dossman, who won also over 7 furlongs in a slightly slower time of 1:25.74. Slower because of a different tempo that existed in the 6:40 than in the 6:10. Here's the RaceiQ time index for you. Remember, these are rated 0 to 10. Don't think I've seen a 9.9 as of yet, since we've been looking at the RaceiQ time indexes. Well, you've seen it now. Race number 3. She's achieved a lot more than would have been expected for a novice over this 7 furlong trip at Kempton. Much more than would be expected. You'd expect something between 5 and 6. Look at the average for Wednesday night, 7.43. So quite a high average. I don't think the track was standard to slow. I think it was just standard, but her performance exceptional on the clock. OK, let's have a look and see what she did and why she was so good from stall 2. Bobby Benu, horse perhaps for your Racing TV tracker, from stall 6. And Westridge came out of stall number 8. So she's down towards the inside. She's in the Godolphin blue. She's trained by Saeed bin Saror, and Hector Crouch was on board. She came out in 2.61 seconds. That's how long it took her to get to 20 miles an hour. Bobby Benu, who was second on debut, 2.86 seconds. So he's just a little bit slower, Bobby Benu, but he comes home pretty well in this race, and he's definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. Bear in mind that the winner had the benefit of previous experience. It was her 3rd career start. All of them have come here at Kempton, and she has now won 2 of them. Now, she's quite keen, close to the pace on the rail. She's a filly with tremendous speed. Her finishing speed percentage, 103.61 here, so 3.61% quicker in the last 2 furlongs than she was in the rest of the race. But that's not the crucial bit of data that we need. It's how fast she can go, how well she can quicken. Look at her ears pricked in front, rolling along, and she's about to quicken, and she'll fire the 5th furlong in 11.8, and then, under minimal assistance from Hector Crouch, he doesn't really ask her for everything, and 11.19 to put the field away readily. Look at this. She's still on the bridle. Lots of horses being scrubbed along. There's Bobby Benu, the grey horse, down towards the inside. But look at her. She's still on the bridle, and she's going 11.19. This is very impressive. And she'll just clear away in the closing stages and win in hand, really. Hector Crouch hasn't gone for too much. Look at Bobby Benu now running on that slow time to 20 miles an hour out of the stalls, put him in a bad position, was able to run on quite well in the closing stages. The 2nd and 3rd in this race, interestingly, they were faster in the final furlong. But the point is that the winner was just too quick when she quickened up, doing that 11.8 and 11.19, and then she got a bit tired late on, and others were able to close in a little bit through the final furlong. But she just destroyed them for speed with that 11.19. It was very, very impressive from her. Such speed that suggests she could come back to 6 furlongs. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. She is that quick, and I think she'd be interesting at 6, maybe at Ascot, a stiff 6. That might suit her. All-weather horses go well on the straight course at Ascot, and I think 6 furlongs there would really suit her. Plenty of substance about her as well, isn't there? And I think there's a lot more to come from her. Bobby Benu, you just saw him there in the picture in the grey horse. He finished well. His final furlong was 11.89. So he's quicker than the winner through that final furlong. So having been a bit slowly away and been in a bit of a poor position, that's a good run from him. Stick him in your Racing TV tracker, as I suggested. And here's the RaceiQ graphic to sum it all up. Summer of Love out of the stalls, 2.61 seconds to get to 20 miles an hour. Bobby Benu a bit slower. 3rd fastest in the race, Summer of Love, and 6th fastest, Bobby Benu. You can see the top speeds that they reached. 2nd furlong was quick there, 40.64 miles an hour, 40.54. And there's where Summer of Love quickened. That 6th furlong, that 11.19, that won the race for her, coming home just 3.61% quicker than she ran the rest of the race. She's a very useful filly. She's a 4-year-old, lightly raced 4-year-old, just the 3 runs behind her. Loads more to come, and drop to a stiff 6 should be very interesting. OK, I'm going to have a look at Dossman now winning the race after Summer of Love, and it was the fourth race on the card. So if we just have a look at the time index again, fourth race produced a score of 6.55, and you compare that to Summer of Love, who scored a 9.9. So she achieved a fair bit more on the clock, but that was because, one, the tempo of the race, and two, she's got a very sharp turn of foot. But Dossman, nonetheless, is a very useful horse going forward. I think stall 6, Cat Ninja from 2, and Apotheosis from 12 was third out wide. This is a Roger Varian horse. Sylvester de Souza was on board. And look at the speeds out of the stalls to 20 miles an hour. Cat Ninja, who makes the running, rapid out of the stalls, quickly away for the Gosdens. 2.24 seconds to 20 miles an hour. Dossman, 2.63, and he sits further back in the field. I've already mentioned the tempo. Steadier, much steadier run than the Summer of Love race. They actually crawled in the early stages of this particular race, and then they came home very strongly. Finishing speed percentage for the winner, 110.12. You remember Summer of Love just over 103%. So Dossman was able to save a lot of energy for a very fast finish, but nonetheless his final time wasn't as good as Summer of Love. 1 minute 24.7 Summer of Love, 1 minute 25.74, so just over a second slower in this race. This was just run in a different way, steadily run, and then it turned into a 2-furlong dash in the closing stages. And this horse, Dossman, was very quick. His speed gets him out of trouble. A final 2 furlongs of 22.23, able to save loads for a fast finish, and included in that is that 10.93, a very quick furlong from him. A quicker furlong than Summer of Love was able to run, well, that's because he was able to save more energy for a faster finish. And there he is towards the inside, picking up now what's just his second career start. Flash of the tail or two from Cat Ninja out in front, who got the run of the race, but was run down readily by Dossman, who's stepping up big time on his fourth place on debut. This was a really good effort from him. He's bred to stay a mile. He'd get another furlong, but I don't think he'd want much further than that. He's by Kingman. And the one thing that marks Kingman's out above some other horses is that they've usually got a good turn of foot. And I think he's shown that. He's displayed that here. That 10.93 followed by an 11.3 in a race that was run at a crawl and turned into a sprint marks him out as being pretty useful. Cat Ninja, I'll be a little bit wary of her. She got her own way in front. She flashed her tail when she was put under pressure, and she wandered a fair bit as well. I think this winner has beaten them pretty comprehensively in the end. I'm not sure it's a particularly good race. The overall time is just moderate, as we highlighted with that RaceiQ time index. But if you delve into the time and you look at what he did in those last couple of furlongs, you find sectionals that you rarely see. A 10.93, that's really quick, and then 11.3 backing that up to win the race. Rather like Summer of Love, a horse of substance, as you can see from there, and there's going to be a fair bit more to come. So I wanted to have a look at those sectionals in terms of, well, I wanted to visualise them, really. Now, when the line goes up, the horses are going slower, they're getting slower, and the line goes down, they're getting quicker. And you can see that the early part of the race was run quite steadily, certainly through the first 2 or 3 furlongs, as that climbs to a peak. Pretty slow when they reach that peak, almost 13 seconds, maybe a little bit more. And then Dossman quickened up through the next couple of furlongs, those furlongs that I highlighted, going under 11 seconds and then just over 11 seconds as the line comes down, getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and then just a little bit tired in the final furlong. He's got a real good turn of foot and he'll stay a mile. I think he's a real useful prospect for Roger Varian. There was a really good few days at Haydock Park, culminating in an excellent meeting on Saturday afternoon. Here are all the winners and the times. The times suggested that the ground was, well, it was perhaps just good, on the easy side of good maybe, but certainly not soft. Believing taking the opening Achilles stakes, a time that was 2.27 outside, and there were some slow times there. Look, Iron Lion slow, Queen of the Pride, who scrambled home, that was slow as well, and later in the piece, we've got a slow time from in the last race, Live and Let Live. We're going to have a look at a couple of races. We'll start with Believing. We'll have a look at Tiber Flow in the John of Gaunt as well. I think the RaceiQ time index doesn't tell us a right lot, but it highlights the fact that there was no outstanding time on the card. The average was just 4.55, 3.15 for the Achilles, the first race. So for a sprint, we would have expected a little bit more. It's a listed sprint. We'd have thought we'd have got a slightly better time. Those times, I think it has to be said, were affected by a headwind. That's important to know. And it might have been a bit stronger than people thought. Winner from 4, Believing. Comanche Falls from 2. Corker, as usual, running on late from stall number 6. Living the Dream out rapid, but stumbled just a little bit, having got out very quickly, as he always does. He did so when he won the Nunthorpe last year. And we're just going to have a look at Believing. It was 2.89 seconds to 20 miles an hour. Democracy Dilemma, who's just in front of Living the Dream out of the stalls, was rapid, 2.39 seconds. And it's Democracy Dilemma who rolls along with Living the Dream in the early part of this race. And I think they just go a bit quick and they take each other on somewhat. Remember, they're running into this headwind as well. Believing, tucked in just behind Democracy Dilemma, next to Marshman, just got a little bit of cover and getting a nice toe into the race. And whilst the first two have gone a bit quick and paid for that, paid for taking each other on into that headwind, the finishing speed percentage of the winner was spot on. It's a good ride, this 100, just over 100, 100.31%. That's good. This horse has been rated evenly through the contest, and whilst others stopped and died around Believing, she ran on well in the closing stages. Comanche Falls far side, making a bit of headway. Corker's running on as he always does, all too late. The winner was fastest through the final 2 furlongs, 23.99, and could have been better actually, because was eased down late on, and the runner-up just about a second or so slower than that. So she was pretty strong throughout this race, really well rated. A 10.85 second for her second furlong, 11.04 for the third, and 11.49 for the fourth. That just tells you she's rating in behind doing those sectionals. That's just how quick they've gone out in front, and it's really set up nicely for Believing. I'm not sure Living the Dream, that horse is running surely better than that. Democracy Dilemma better than that as well. But Living the Dream has turned out quite quickly here after his reappearance, and he might have bounced a little bit. And Democracy Dilemma maybe a little bit disappointing after his run in the dash. So it did fall apart a bit, but we have to believe what Believing did. 3 Grade 1s this filly's run in her last few starts, and the dropping grade to listed company here has worked the oracle for her, and she's back on an upward trajectory now, but it did set up perfectly. 2 horses in a contested lead. Perhaps they weren't quite on their game, and she was able to just draft behind them, pick up, and quick and clear with that final 2 furlongs of 23.99. I wonder what they'll do with her now, whether they'll try and run her in Grade 1 company once again. But as I said, the sprinting division, horses can make a big jump up. I suggested that with Desperate Hero, and she might be able to jump up in grade now. This is a RaceiQ summary graphic, and look at her finishing speed percentage, 100.31, rated perfectly from off the pace. Same with Comanche Falls, rated well from off the pace, 100.04. The rest of them under 100. And I think it's worth looking at Democracy Dilemma. 94.98 is really struggling in the closing stages, and the same for Living the Dream at 95.44. They're getting really tired, those two, and they're the two that knocked heads out in front. 10.85, fastest furlong for Believing. Fastest furlong in the race was 10.81. Corker really quick through that second furlong, but it was Believing who was able to sustain pace better than any of the others and take advantage of a pace duel up front. The other race I want to look at from Haydock is the Group 3 John of Gaunt Stakes. It was over 7 furlongs. I'll just quickly look at the RaceiQ time indexes once again. 4.53, the score achieved by the winner, which was Tiber Flow, on a day when the times were not particularly impressive, but this was quite an impressive performance in its own right if you delve into the RaceiQ data. William Haggis winning with this horse and Tom Marquand on board. Tiber Flow from 10, looks a bit awkward there. Tom Marquand trying to get him to tuck in and not be posted too wide. Sirona was second from stall 5, and Pogo was third from stall number 4. Sirona's quite interesting, only a second start for David Menuisier, but I want to give loads of credit to Tiber Flow. Now, this horse ran at York last time up, and at halfway in a 6 furlong sprint had a horrendous fall. He clipped heels and came down. He rolled over several times. It looked like a really heavy fall. And he's done well to come back with confidence intact and win this coming between horses as well. He must be a fairly tough character to be able to do that, even if his head carriage is not the sort of head carriage you necessarily like to see. Quinout took them along, probably went quite quick, because Point Linus in second and Pogo in third. They're both front runners normally. Point Linus had made all to win at York on his previous start, so I think they went quite quick up front. You can see Sirona's towards the rear and the winner's towards the rear as well. The winner, again, rather like Believing, has been rated really well here by Tom Marquand, 100.94%. The winner's finishing speed percentage. Tom Marquand was thinking of coming wide, and now he's tucked back in, this grey horse, to look for a run between horses. But they've just probably gone a bit quick in front, Quinout, Point Linus and Pogo. Pogo boxes on for third, but Tiber Flow's the one who finishes best. 6th furlong, 11.72. And his 7th furlong, his final, was 12.92. That doesn't sound very quick, but it's better than everything else in the race. There's Sirona, far side, running on quite well. There might be a listed race for her in the near future. Pogo back in third. He generally gives his running. He's won this race before as well, and I think he's quite a good yardstick. Overall, I think this was quite a strong contest. All bar the winner had a sub 100% finishing speed percentage. He's the only one to finish off a little bit quicker than he ran the rest of the race. And I think he's been really brave here, given what happened to him at York, where he clipped heels and came down and took a real heavy fall. Turned out again relatively quickly. He's had to find his way through traffic and go through and win, I would say, a shade cosily in the end. And there might be some nice 7 furlong targets for him going forward. Lennox, Goodwood, possibly. That would be something he could go for. There'll be a 7 furlong race at York, part of the Sky Bet series. I think he could go for a nice race there. So there's plenty of options for him at 7 furlongs. The Lennox is the obvious place to go, although that's a bit of a step up. But he raced from 10th to 1st in that contest. He came from 10th to 1st and then was strong in the final 2 furlongs and did so whilst getting trouble in running as well. And to be able to do 11.72 and then that 12.92 is quicker than everything else in the race through those 2 furlongs, whilst getting a bit of trouble, is pretty impressive. Here's the summary. There he is from stall 10, Tiber Flow, and tucked in by Tom Marquand. Even if he didn't really want to go left early on, he was quite slow out of the stalls, 2.86 seconds to 20 miles an hour. But it was that 11.36 that propelled him into contention, took him from 10th, took him between horses, got him to near the lead, and then he was a little bit too strong for everything else, as the finishing speed percentages tell us, through the final couple of furlongs. 100.94, well rated by Tom Marquand. Everything else slowing down and getting tired through those final 2 furlongs, but not Tiber Flow, who is back after that horrendous incident on his last start. Let's go to Goodwood on Sunday afternoon and have a look at the times, first of all. Not bad at all, really. They're suggesting that the ground was good to firm these times. Just over standard, most of them. Haymaker, a good time over 6 furlongs in the last. But I'm going to look at a race that didn't produce a good overall time. I'll tell you why in a minute. Lava Stream, he won the 3.55, just shy of 10 furlongs, 4.05 outside, and the time index score, courtesy of RaceiQ, was 4.33, and it was the lowest time index score on the card. So I want to make the point that we don't always look at just the best times, the fastest times on any one day, because those might not produce the best performances on any one day. I think the best performance on this day was Lava Stream, despite that final time. So let's look and see why. The data, if we delve into it, can tell us exactly why, and our eyes can as well. So what we do is we start with the winner coming out of stall 7 and being dropped out and held up. There's the second, Bolsena, who came from stall 9, and Nikhil was third from 5. Has to be said, the other horse in yellow who's slowly away, See Just in Time, number 7, just towards the rear, second last. There's a real disappointment in this, but I think there's reasons for that, and we'll get to them in a moment. But let's just have a look at the winner. Last in a race that is run at an absolute crawl. That's why we've got that poor time index score of 4.33, why we've got that poor time well above the Racing Post standard, because Strutting is taking them along at a pedestrian gallop, and now Bolsena towards the outside in the yellow colours takes up the running. Strutting's a bit keen, jockey anxious to anchor that horse, so Bolsena takes it up and slows the gallop. Listen to these early fractions: 12.87, 12.93, and then, oh, let's go slower, 14.17, and then let's pretend we're in a jump race, 14.27. It's an absolute crawl as they go up the hill and down and round the bend. And the winner is in a terrible position, given how the race was run. Sat last, settled nicely, which is a plus, because this filly can pull hard. She has done on a number of occasions in her career. She's relaxed enough here under Danny Tudhope. But the horse in the box seat is the horse who finishes runner-up, Bolsena. She has got this race where she wants it. She can quicken from the front off this steady gallop, get them all at it, and they shouldn't be able to catch her. She should go and win this race, given the run of the race. But that's not what happens, because the winner, Lava Stream, does something incredible from the back of the field. She quickens up really well, and she flies home. She's making up ground, catching horses who are sprinting in front of her. And she does so with a 10.92 second furlong, followed by 11.05. And then she comes home in 12.07. Her final 3 furlongs, 34.04, 34.57 for Bolsena, who was not stopping in front. Her finishing speed percentage well over 100, but she's run down by Lava Stream nonetheless. And she gets there just in the dying strides. And that turn of foot was really potent. We like to see turns of foot. We've had a look at horses earlier in the programme, Summer of Love and Dossman. They both quickened up really well at Kempton Park. We like to see sub-11 second furlongs as well. But it's rare that we see horses be able to do that and win from the back of the field when the pace is not collapsing in front of them. And that's what happened here. And this is a really impressive performance. So the question has to be, why? Why suddenly is she able to do this? Well, I think it's one thing in particular with her. They've changed the tactics with her. The last couple of starts, they've decided to hold her up. She's a very keen-going sort, and in previous contests, they've just let her roll along and get on with it and have her own way a little bit. Here, they've harnessed her energy. They've dropped her in and harnessed her energy and asked her to finish off her race strongly. And that's exactly what she's done. She hit 41.63 miles an hour in that 8th furlong when she went 10.92, and that enabled her to run down her rivals. Look at the finishing speed percentages, all well over 100. Bolsena wasn't stopping. She's 12.97% quicker in the closing stages than she was in the rest of the race, yet Lava Stream could run her down from the back of the field. She's given a 7 or 8 lengths head start, and she's able to run her down when the runner-up is still quickening in front of her. That's an impressive performance. It might just go under the radar because, as I said, that final time, that time index score, it doesn't really catch your eye. It wouldn't make you go and want to go and watch the race and see what happened there. But when you delve into the RaceiQ data, you see a completely different picture sometimes, and we did there with Lava Stream. Where's she going to go? Hard to know, isn't it? Step up in grade, you'd have thought. I think she'd be all right back at a mile, but always best, I think, under hold-up tactics. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw her in something like the Falmouth, some down the line. She might not be quite good enough for that, but that might be something that Connections have got on the radar. Connections being the David O'Mara team, who are going great guns. So she was a very interesting horse to analyse, I think, and I hope you've enjoyed the horses that we've looked at in the verdict. Today, I was particularly taken with Summer of Love. I like the way Dossman did things, but Desperate Hero, the star of the verdict this week, a sprinter to follow.